I was always interested in rugby from an early age. When Alex Murphy came to Leigh from St Helens, I think it was 1967, I think. I remember my father saying, "Oh, he'll make Leigh a good team now," and he did do. And that's when, I started to follow Leigh and get involved with rugby. And then I was lucky enough to play for St Joseph's and St Mary's. Then I played for Lancashire, captained England, a schoolboy, went on tour with them. Played in the first ever England side to play against the first ever touring combined schools Australian side in this country. That was in about 1972-73. And we lost every game because they were head and shoulders above us. Then I went to Workington Colts. Alex Murphy took me there, but I didn't sign. And then I came back to Leigh Colts. Went on tour with the Great Britain Colts to France. And when I came back, I could have signed for Warrington, Leigh, Salford, Wigan, and St Helens. And on the final one, I went to meet the directors at Wigan. And I was amazed at the history, the ground, the professionalism of that club, even then in the 70s. And they offered me a bit more money in the contract, and I signed for Wigan. And I was very proud and privileged to do that, and honoured. And that's my background really. And then played for Wigan, but I got a bit disgruntled because I wasn't getting enough game time. And then when I was 20, I asked for a transfer, and I moved to Workington just before the cup deadline. And they paid a big fee. They paid a record fee for me. I was only 20 years of age. And I went in and we had a chat with George Graham and Jack Atkinson. Tom Mitchell was away. And then they said to me, "Have you got your boots?" And I said, "Yeah." "All right, well, let's sign now, you're playing." And I didn't know I was going to play. And I played and scored a try in my debut. And I really enjoyed it up there. A beautiful part of the country, and, the people are really nice. And had some good games up there. We had a good team. I thought we was good enough to win something. But then the following season, unfortunately, I got injured just after my 21st birthday, and that's when my career ended. But from, even from school and Colts level and professional, I've had quite a successful time in rugby, and I really enjoyed it, and, move on from there really, It was against Leeds on the 3rd of September, and the game was like the game was different then than what it is now. And so I kind of caught the ball, and I landed in a sitting down position on the floor, so I wasn't tackled. And then a group of players, tackled me on top of me, and I don't know, I must have been tackled awkwardly or whatever. Then I remember Billy Thompson was the referee at the time, and I remember on the floor, and he came across to me, over me, and he said, "Are you all right? Are you all right, John?" And I couldn't speak, and then next thing I knew, I was in the dressing room, and then taken to the hospital, and the spinal unit at Exham, and then after that to Southport on a rehabilitation course or period. And to come to terms with an injury like that, and life-changing injury at that, it takes you a few years. I was in a lot of pain then, and I had to go down to theatre 3 times at Exham because my spinal cord was trapped in between the vertebrae. And they told my father, "Right, we're going to take him down the 3rd time, and if we can't get the spinal cord freed this time by manipulation, we're going to have to operate, and we may do more damage than we want to do." Anyway, they didn't do that. They freed the spinal cord, and I was on traction for 12 weeks. And I couldn't move much at all in 12 weeks. And then, but you know, I became stronger and stronger, and you know, learned to deal with what enormity of what had happened. And I left just before Christmas to stay at Rennie Anderson's house, who was the secretary of the Workington at that time. I met up with Tom Mitchell and George Graham and all the directors and the players. And I came back to Exham, and then I was transferred to Southport then. So initially I wasn't told much until I was in Exham, and I said, look, why can't, you say I broke my neck, why can't I move my legs? What's that got to do with my legs? And so I said, okay, we'll tell you in depth what this means. And then it was explained to me, and I thought, oh, right, okay. And that's when I started to realise what had happened and, move on and try to get some normality back into life, Because, like I say, it is a life-changing event when that happens. My family was supportive, and my wife saw my daughter every day, the nurses and the doctors. And you don't exactly know what's going on around you. So, okay, I did get support. I don't know what support you'll get nowadays, but you might get more support now, I'm not sure. Workington did a lot for me. Tom Mitchell and the directors and the Rugby League did as well, did a lot for me. And other clubs. And they all rallied round and they set up a trust fund for me. And this trust fund, there's many events. I mean, there's Kenny Dalglish took a team from Liverpool to play Workington Reds. And that raised £6,000, just on that day alone. Now, that was a lot of money in 1978, And the trust fund was established, money was raised, and the money was used to build what I am now living now, this house. I'm very grateful to that, and I'm grateful to everybody who contributed. All the children, were doing things, having sponsored swims and runs and all that. The clubs, helped me as well, and there was lots of concerts, and it was an amazing time, that, because not just the rugby, but other sporting people came together too. Because what they were told and what they saw was, a relatively young person being injured in a sport which he loved, and had a 6-month-old daughter, and couldn't pick her up because I was paralysed at the time, things like that, and that touched people's hearts, and it's very hard to deal with that at the time, but we're not in that position now. We're a lot better than what we were then at that time. I'm okay now. I mean, I have quite an active life. I go out when I can. I go to some matches, rugby matches. I go and watch the races at Haydock. I do normal things, what normal people do, shopping, garden centres, all this. I have a good social life, I have some good friends. So health-wise as well, I'm okay, quite fit and healthy. Look after myself, I eat well, I drink well. And as long as I can keep doing that, hopefully I can stay healthy. Well, when I got injured, the Benevolent Fund, the Rugby Benevolent Fund, didn't exist, and I can't tell you exactly when it was formed, but the manager then at the time was Dave Phillips. Now, Dave Phillips was doing not at the same time, but previously, the same thing at the Rugby Union, and he was doing it at Rugby League, and he did a really good job. And then my mate Steve Ball took over, and he's also doing a great job. So I can't actually tell you what year that started or what, but since its introduction, they have really, really helped me a lot. They provided things for me. They maintained my garden for me. They give me a wet room, some new windows for my house. They look after me. They look after a lot of people, not just me. When there's a final at Wembley and the grand final and all that, and the manager Steve, he's very approachable, and he's a good person. So you just contact him, you tell him what you want, and he sorts it, and that's great. I remember when we went to Wembley. I can't think of the teams, but we all went there, and I said at the time, I said, it's good. This, we've been invited for a weekend at Wembley. We've been, catered for amazingly, and it just feels like we're not being forgotten. And that's how I feel. You're not forgotten. They're there. If you want something, I'm not saying you would always get it, but within reason you would get it. And the very understanding manager Steve Ball, and they offer support, and they're still offering support, which is really, really great. Really is. I don't actually know how many people are seriously injured playing rugby. It's not a lot, but there are some. And when I come into contact with them, we have a chat, we have a laugh. They're from different parts of the country, and it's quite a friendly family sort of thing. There's not like, oh, I don't like him or I don't like her. It's quite nice, nice atmosphere when you meet up, and it's a credit. It's a credit to the Rugby League and a credit to the Benevolent Fund that this is happening, and there is support if you come into difficulties in the sport, whatever that could be.